Hello, my name is Nick. Thanks so much for tuning in to our Facts, Figures, and Fallacies from the Frontline podcast. Today, Jessica is talking about how much do I need to save to retire at my desired age. So super interesting topic, but before we get started, make sure to check the links below in the description to find our Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter to make sure you're staying in the loop with changing tax laws and regulations as they are released. And you can follow our discussions of business strategies there as well. Please leave us a comment, ask any questions, and with that, Jessica, how can I retire when I'm 40?
Okay, thanks, Nick. That's a steep goal, but we're going to talk about that, see if it is even possible. So a question that is asked a lot, there's a bunch of podcasts on it, is, should I start saving for retirement now? Like, am I even going to be able to retire at a decent retiring age? And the younger you ask this question, the better, but it does tend to be when you get a little closer to retiring that you start thinking about it more and more, whereas if you thought about it sooner, you would have been in a better spot. So we're going to kind of dive into that, and no matter what point you are now, we can still set goals. So one of the things that affects it largely is what your lifestyle is now. So we're going to talk about how you can judge how much you're going to need off of retirement based on your current lifestyle, current hobbies. Like, do you have expensive hobbies? Do you just like to read? Like, all of that goes into affecting how retirement looks for you. So first off, set your goals. When and where are you going to retire? So Nick wants to retire at 40 and live in Fort Worth, then that's what he needs to structure his around. Personal career plans. Are you going to keep making the same amount forever until you're 40, 50, 65? So you need to factor that in as well. Do you have a business that you're going to develop and sell? Like, are you going to have that cash in the bank when you do get to retirement age? And investment philosophy. This you may not have developed yet. You may have. Are you high risk? Are you low risk? Are you mutual funds? Are you real estate? What is it that you know best and feel most comfortable investing with? Because you should always go with what you know. So if you know real estate, invest in real estate. If you know mutual funds, stock market, you can go with that. So with that, the question, when should you start saving? It is almost always now. There's even ways to open retirement accounts for your children to get them started on it. Like, you can't start too soon on retirement. So one of the reasons you should start saving now is just benefits provided through retirement accounts. You have Roth IRAs, you have individual IRAs. Typically, the individual and Roths have contribution maximums. So if you're starting really late, you can only contribute up to a certain amount, and that does limit you in quite a few ways. But take away the maximum side of it. If you put $6,000, say you're 30 years old, if you put $6,000 in your IRA right now, that $6,000, if say it's growing at a rate of about 6%, which is a somewhat conservative rate, it turns into approximately $34,000 when you are 65. So that's 35 years of growth. 6,000 turns into 34. So the idea is that you put the money in, you invest it in either low or high risk, and that money will fluctuate, but over time it will, in theory, eventually grow to something higher. And so you want to start now to give that money time to invest. And then another thing is Social Security checks. People can tend to think they're going to be safe because they're going to draw Social Security. You've been seeing it come out of your paycheck every week, and you're paying it, and you're like, oh, well, the government's got my back. They've got me. But statistics say it only accounts for about 40% of what your income is right now. So if it only counts for 40%, you need to make up the rest of the 60% yourself with your own savings. And then the other thing is, if you do fail to save now, the burden tends to fall on your children. You don't want to be in a spot when you're 65, you can no longer work, and you have to show up at your kid's doorstep, say, hey, can I move in? Because you cannot. There's no other way. So if you do want to move in with your kids, you want it to be at your own discretion and their own discretion, and not make your financial burden their financial burden. So you want to be able to take care of yourself all the way through. So we're going to just take an example, and I'm going to assume that you're coming to me as a 35-year-old married, so husband and wife, 35 years old, and your target is 65 years old. You can adjust this however you want, but this is the example I'm going to use. And then the investment philosophy, we're going to use like about 6%, so kind of a low to medium risk tolerance. So first off, you need to make a list of all of your current lifestyle expenses. So if right now, between car payments, recreation, food, eating out, everything right now is $10,000 a month is how much you're spending to live comfortably. You want at least that when you retire. But when you retire, you're also have a lot more time on your hands, so you want to add a little bit of a cushion. So for the sake of this example, I'm going to assume you're spending $10,000 now, but you want about $12,000 a month when you retire. So we're approximating about $144,000 so that for each year that you're alive after you retire. Okay, so we're going to move on to an example. So I'm assuming your desired family annual income is $144,000, just like we talked about with a $12,000 a month comfortable living. And Social Security, if you've been working, we're going to make it somewhat conservative. We're going to assume you make about $2,000 a month in Social Security. It can be anywhere from $15,000 to over $3,000 a month, but we'll make it conservative because you can't necessarily count on that number for sure. You can get an estimated number, which we'll put in the link below. Pension benefits, I'm going to skip over pension because most employers don't necessarily provide that program. So we're going to assume for this example that you don't have any pension benefits. Okay, so after Social Security, we still have an income shortage of about $120,000 a year. So that's money you need to make up. So if we divide the $120,000 by 6%, and if you're just listening, I have an example in front of me, so bear with me. So the $120,000, I'm going to divide by 6%, and that gives me $2 million that you're going to need in today's dollars in order to accomplish your retirement goals. Okay, and then on top of that, we're going to add death costs. Now that can be burial, funeral, dividing up your estate. The rule of thumb is 6 to 8% of your estate that will cost you in your death costs. So for now, I'm going to put $100,000 that to pay lawyers in the court to divide up your estate or however you want to do it. And then I'm also going to add a cushion for education fund of $10,000. Just if you want to just keep your mind sharp after you retire, you should continue to learn, take classes, read books, all that. And so we're looking at $2.1 million that you're needing, and we're going to assume you have about $100,000 in current assets. So that means, like, do you have a business that's worth something that you're going to sell, or do you have cash sitting in the bank? We're going to say you have about $100,000 in assets, and then we're going to say for insurance that it's going to cover the death costs. Insurance is kind of a different topic, and you probably should get with your insurance agent on that. After considering those, we're looking at $1.9 million that we need to have saved by the time we retire. So I'm going to assume your savings rate is 6%. It's going to take you 30 years to accomplish your goal because you're 35 and you're saving till you're 65. And you need to be saving $1,892 each month in order to accomplish this goal. So that seems like a lot. And this is because we're starting at 35. And again, I came up with these numbers just as a hypothetical situation. So $1,900 a month is what you're supposed to save. Now, if you have a W-2 job, let's talk about how that's possible. So if you're at a W-2 job, sometimes your employer has a matching program. So you want to participate as much as you can in a matching program because whatever your employer puts in, that is free money for you. So highly recommend that. And then after a matching program, if you're still not meeting that $1,900 a month with your employer contribution plus your own, we recommend that you open a Roth IRA. For 2023, the limits have increased to $6,500 a year per individual. So open one up for husband and wife, and max that out every year, or at least to your goals. And for business owners, you don't have any kind of 401k through a employer, so you have different options. The first one still would be the Roth IRA, would be the best option, and then you have solo 401k, SEP IRA, simple IRA, different options that you can explore as a business owner, which I won't get into those today, but those are different options. If the Roth IRA is not cutting it for your monthly contribution, you may want to consider opening another one to fulfill the rest of that goal. So that is about all I had today for estimating how much you need for retirement. You may want to get through with your personal advisor. We do this with clients where we just set up, hey, what are your goals for the next 3 years? When do you want to retire? You want to retire at 40? Let's see if that's even possible for you, because if you're just saying you want to do things and you don't look at what steps you need to take, the likelihood of you accomplishing them is kind of low. But even if it's a steep goal, if you go ahead and decide which steps you need to take to get there, then the likelihood of that happening is a little higher for you. So,
okay, Jessica, so you had a pretty simple formula for calculating how much money I need to have today in today's dollars in order to have a $12,000 a month retirement. And how did you get to that number? You took the $12,000 divided by the return?
Yes. So I did the 12,000 times 12 months, which is 144,000. So whatever you'd want your salary to be, divided by the 6%, and that gets you about to where you need to be. And then to that you add anything that comes after, so like education, death costs, all that. But if you want a roundabout number, yes, 144,000 divided by 6%, that's about where you need to be.
In today's dollars.
If you have a really expensive house and you have, $10,000 a month just in property taxes, then obviously that's going to need to be a little higher for you. So you could take 200,000 divided by 6% and get maybe what you need to live comfortably in that house after you retire.
Okay. So
Cool.
So for the $1,900 in your example, you needed $1,900 a month.
Mm-hmm.
What is that per year? So about $24,000, a little less, say $20,000 a year. Husband and wife at the age of 35 could put in $6,500 times 2, so $13,000.
Mm-hmm.
They're short $7,000.
Mm-hmm.
After their either traditional or Roth IRA, they're still short $7,000. They could put that money into a brokerage account, or maybe they utilize the 401k at their job.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have a 401k at their job, if they're self-employed, then that could go in through a solo 401k, SEP, a simple plan.
Exactly.
So it should be fairly easy to get the $20,000 a year into a either tax deferred or Roth savings.
Yep, exactly.
So the younger, the better is the moral of this episode, it sounds like. But
Yep.
if you haven't been saving, there's still options. You just need to put more in if you can.
And what would be a scenario where you wouldn't want to be saving for retirement? Whether it's in an IRS-approved savings plan, or maybe you're just saving in a traditional brokerage account, or maybe it's in a savings account, or maybe you're investing in real estate and it's not through an IRA or a retirement plan. When would you not want to be doing that? Say I'm 20 and I'm kind of in that ballpark. When would I not want to be putting aside money into savings?
So I would say, it all starts with setting your goals, right? You want to know when you can retire. And if you have things pending like high interest debt, credit card debt, anything like that, you may want to get with your personal advisor just to see which things you should focus on first. Should I save? Should I pay off debt? Or should I put in the retirement account? Do I not want it to be in the retirement account? So it depends on your specific situation. So your goal is to save for retirement. Your goal is to have enough to live comfortably. But if you have these other things hanging over your head, you may want to get those taken care of first. Alrighty. Well, thank y'all for joining. And And yeah, let us know if you have any questions in the comments below.